The neon lights of downtown reflected off the rain-soaked streets as 26-year-old Sarah Martinez finished her shift as a rideshare driver. It was nearly midnight, and she was exhausted from working her second job of the day, but she needed every dollar she could earn to support her 4-year-old daughter Mia and pay for the nursing school tuition that would hopefully lead to a better future for both of them. Sarah's car was modest but clean, and she took pride in providing safe, reliable transportation for her passengers. Tonight had been particularly busy due to the rain and the corporate events happening downtown. Her phone buzzed with one final ride request, a pickup from the Meridian Hotel downtown. The passenger's name was listed as Alexander, and the destination was an upscale residential area about 20 minutes away. When Sarah arrived at the hotel, she immediately recognized that her passenger was going to need extra care. Alexander Hayes, though she didn't know his name or status at the time, was clearly intoxicated as he was helped into the back seat by the hotel's doorman. "Good evening, sir," Sarah said professionally as the doorman closed the door. "I have your destination as Oakwood Hills, is that correct?" Alexander, 34 years old and normally the composed CEO of Hayes Financial Group, was struggling with what had been one of the worst days of his professional life. A major deal had fallen through, he'd lost a key client, and he'd made the poor decision to spend the evening drinking alone at the hotel bar instead of going home to his empty penthouse. "Yeah, that's right," Alexander mumbled, slumping against the window. "Sorry about this. I don't make a habit of—" "No need to apologize, sir," Sarah said kindly, adjusting her rearview mirror to keep an eye on him. "Everyone has difficult days. Let's just focus on getting you home safely." As they drove through the quiet streets, Sarah noticed that Alexander seemed to be struggling with more than just the effects of alcohol. He was clearly distressed about something, and her natural compassion made her want to help. "Are you feeling okay back there?" she asked gently. "Do you need me to pull over?" "No, I'm fine," Alexander said, though his voice suggested otherwise. "Just a really bad day. Lost something important at work today?" "I'm sorry to hear that," Sarah replied. "Sometimes when we lose one thing, it makes space for something better to come along." Alexander looked up at the rearview mirror, catching sight of Sarah's kind eyes reflected there. "Are you always this philosophical with your passengers?" "Only the ones who look like they need to hear it," Sarah said with a gentle smile. As they continued driving, Sarah noticed Alexander becoming increasingly unwell. When he started looking pale and nauseous, she immediately pulled into a well-lit gas station. "Let's get some fresh air," she said, helping him out of the car with the practiced care of someone who had worked as a hospital aide before becoming a full-time student and part-time driver. She bought him a bottle of water and some crackers, staying with him until he felt stable enough to continue the journey. Her shift had officially ended an hour ago, but Sarah couldn't bring herself to abandon someone who was clearly vulnerable and alone. "Why are you being so nice to me?" Alexander asked as they got back in the car. "You could have just dropped me off and been done with it." "Because everyone deserves to be treated with kindness, especially when they're having a hard time," Sarah replied simply. "And because I know what it's like to feel alone and overwhelmed." "What do you mean?" Sarah hesitated, then decided to share. "I'm a single mom working 2 jobs while going to nursing school. Some nights I come home so tired I can barely help my daughter with her homework. But she always asks about my day and tells me I'm doing great, even when I don't feel like I am." Alexander was quiet for a moment, processing this information. Here was someone who was clearly struggling financially and academically, yet she had spent the last hour taking care of a complete stranger without expecting anything in return. "How old is your daughter?" he asked. 4. "Her name is Mia. She's the reason I'm working so hard to get through nursing school. I want to be able to provide her with stability and opportunities I never had." "What happened to her father?" Sarah's voice remained steady, but Alexander could hear the pain behind her words. He decided that being a parent was too much responsibility. "He left when Mia was 2 months old." When they arrived at Alexander's building, Sarah helped him to the lobby and made sure the doorman was aware of his condition. Alexander, who was sobering up and beginning to realize how much care this stranger had shown him, tried to give her a substantial tip. "I can't accept that much," Sarah said, refusing the large bills he was offering. "The regular fare plus a small tip is plenty, please," Alexander said. "You went far beyond what anyone would expect. You probably have your own problems to worry about, but you spent your evening taking care of me." "That's what people do for each other," Sarah replied. "Or at least it's what they should do." Before leaving, Sarah made sure Alexander had water, that his phone was charging, and that he had the number for a reliable cab company in case he needed anything during the night. The next morning, Alexander woke up in his own bed with a splitting headache and a business card on his nightstand. Sarah Martinez, it read, with a phone number and a small note. "Hope you're feeling better today. Take care of yourself." Alexander spent the morning trying to piece together the events of the previous evening. As his memory cleared, he realized that this young woman had shown him more genuine care and compassion than he had experienced from anyone in years. More than that, he was struck by her dignity and strength. Here was someone facing real financial challenges, working multiple jobs while pursuing an education, raising a child alone, and yet she had approached her work and his crisis with professionalism and kindness that most people in much easier circumstances couldn't match. Alexander made some calls and learned more about Sarah's situation. She was indeed a nursing student with excellent grades, working as a ride-share driver and hospital aide to support herself and her daughter. Her professor spoke highly of her dedication and natural ability to care for others. 3 days later, Sarah was surprised to receive a call from Hayes Financial Group's Human Resources Department. "Ms. Martinez, we're calling about a scholarship opportunity. The Hayes Foundation provides full educational funding for single parents pursuing healthcare careers. We'd like to schedule an interview if you're interested." Sarah was skeptical. "I'm sorry, but I didn't apply for any scholarships from the Hayes Foundation. Sometimes exceptional candidates are recommended to us by people who recognize their potential," the HR representative explained. "The scholarship covers full tuition, provides a monthly living stipend, and includes guaranteed employment in our corporate wellness program upon graduation." The interview was scheduled for the following week. When Sarah arrived at the Hayes Financial Group offices, she was surprised to be led to the executive floor and into the office of CEO Alexander Hayes. "Sarah," Alexander said, standing as she entered his office. "I wasn't sure you'd recognize me under better circumstances." Sarah stared at him in amazement. "You're the gentleman from the other night. I had no idea you were a complete mess having a breakdown in the back of your car," Alexander said with a rueful smile. "That's exactly who I was that night. But what you showed me was who I could be." "I don't understand." Alexander gestured for her to sit down. "That evening, I had lost a major client and was feeling sorry for myself. I made the poor decision to drink too much instead of handling my problems responsibly. But you treated me with more kindness and respect than I probably deserved." He paused, looking out the window at the city below. "In the years since I built this company, I've become focused on profit and success. I'd forgotten that the most important measure of a person isn't what they've achieved, but how they treat others, especially when no one is watching. Mr. Hayes, the scholarship is very generous, but I need to know this isn't charity." "It's not charity, Sarah. It's an investment. Our corporate wellness program needs someone who understands both healthcare and genuine compassion. You demonstrated both that night, along with the kind of integrity that can't be taught." 6 months later, Sarah was thriving in her accelerated nursing program, no longer working multiple jobs and able to spend quality time with Mia in the evenings. Alexander had become not just her employer, but a friend and mentor who valued her insights and perspective. More than that, a deep mutual respect had grown between them. Alexander had learned from Sarah that true strength wasn't measured by financial success, but by the ability to care for others even when facing your own challenges. Sarah had discovered that some people who seem to have everything are actually searching for the kind of meaning and connection that she had never lost sight of, even in her most difficult moments. Mia, now 5 and attending an excellent preschool program, had taken to Alexander with the easy acceptance that children show toward adults who treat their parents with genuine respect and kindness. The night that had begun with Alexander's poor decision to drink. Away his problems had become the foundation for a relationship, built on mutual growth and understanding. Sarah's natural compassion had shown Alexander what really mattered. While his resources and position had given Sarah the opportunity to pursue her dreams without sacrificing time with her daughter, they had learned together that the most meaningful connections often begin in moments of vulnerability, when we're forced to rely on the kindness of others and discover that sometimes the person who seems to need the most help is actually the one with the most to offer. If this story reminded you that showing compassion to others in their difficult moments can create unexpected connections and opportunities, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need this message about the power of treating everyone with dignity and kindness. Subscribe for more stories about how helping others often helps us discover what we've been missing in our own lives. And please comment below about a time when you helped someone in need and it led to something meaningful, or when a stranger's kindness came at exactly the moment you needed it most. Your story might inspire someone else to choose compassion today.